Greetings and salutations, everybody, and welcome to our Full Gear Prediction Show. So you may be wondering, why am I not in the podcast studio? Well, I tell you why, my friends. I've got my Hugh Hefner robe on. I'm snuggled up with my dogs, and I am sick, as you can tell by my voice. Got a little case of the sniffles here in Indiana. It's that time of year. Weather's changing. I mean, come on, man. It was like 70 degrees one day and 20 degrees the next. So it is what it is. Well, anyways, doing this live and in color from my couch, baby. And yes, that is my microwave in the background. So I'm XLJ the OG. I can't remember if I introduced myself or not. And of course, my partner in crime, my brother from another mother, Mr. B. Rowe.
Mr. B-Roll and DDO, and I'm staying as far away from him as absolutely possible.
Yeah.
And we do have a very special friend that wants to remind you.
Brandon Cutler from AEW, you're watching Cole TV.
There you go.
There you go. You are watching Cole TV. XLJ the OG, are you ready to get into this?
Yeah, let's do it. It's a loaded card again, like always with AEW. Let me ask you this: how do you feel about the going into this pay-per-view so far with the build and whatnot?
It's interesting. Sorry we ended up being on the last slide instead of the first slide, but that's
It's all
okay.
good.
This is technology, and we are obviously trying something new here that we don't normally do. So, here we go. Yeah, I mean, there's certain matches that I'm really excited for. I mean, I don't know. There's not really a match that I'm not excited for.
Yeah.
There's just matches that I'm more excited for than others.
I will say this: I do feel like it is a different kind of feel, and it's not a bad. And let me say this: it's not a bad thing at all. It's just it's a new era in AEW, pretty much, and that's not a bad thing. So
yeah. So I mean, without further ado, I say we dive on in to this thing. So we're going to kick off. Obviously, at the time of recording this, we do know there will be a 0 hour, but we have hardly any clue what's going to be on it at this point. I think
I feel like you're probably going to see Hook against maybe Lee Moriarty or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because at the time we're recording this is before Rampage, obviously, and by the time you see this, you'll probably already know what's going to be on 0 hour. But so don't forget to tune in for 0 hour to get yourself all pumped up for the big pay-per-view.
Well, I'm sure it'll be loaded. You got a lot of talents that aren't booked on the show, like Eddie Kingston, Hook, who we mentioned, several others, Rouge, Bandito, just to name a few.
Yep. Plus, they do a good job of interweaving the storylines to kind of get you caught up and things like that. So there you go.
Yeah.
And then next we will look at something else that we probably aren't going to have a whole lot to talk on. We were supposed to get the world title eliminator final at Full Gear. It looks like that is now not going to happen, though.
Yeah, they actually just announced today that they're going to do it on Dynamite which makes sense because tomorrow or right now, or this whatever you watch this on Rampage, let's put it that way. Ricky Starks is going up against Lance Archer.
Which he will win.
Yeah,
and then
actually, let's call spade a spade. Ricky Starks and Ethan Page are going to be in the finals. That's what's going to be.
That's what we have said since the beginning of this. I do think that actually, now that I'm thinking of it, I think that they are going to have. We're going to assume it's going to be Ricky Starks and Brian Cage on 0 hour. I think that's what's going to happen. I think they did say that will be on 0 hour.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because Wednesday is going to be the final, right? Yeah, yes. I think you're right. Yeah. So I would say it's going to be Ricky Starks.
That's so interesting. That frees up, Ethan Page, a member of the firm. He's just not going to have anything to do that night. So, poor Ethan Page.
Or will he?
We love Ethan Page.
Yeah. All ego, but My prediction on this, I think you're kind of in agreement. So, like, it's long overdue, and I love Ricky Starks too, and he'll get that shot. It's all ego. It's Ethan Page is winning this. He's long overdue. It's kind of he's like when they brought him in, they kind of did some stuff with him with Darby, and then the Men of the Year stuff was okay. I feel like he is like this is his time to get a big push, and I think he wins this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely. I mean, I'm personally happy as long as I get the Ricky Starks Ethan Page final. I'm happy, and I don't care who wins. Honestly, I think I would maybe almost go towards Ricky Starks, but maybe I'm just listening to my heart.
I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. I'll tell you this, dependent on who wins that main event and how it goes down, I think you'll know a lot more about who's going to win that match on Dynamite this coming week.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're giving us a little tease. So there you go. And then let's dive in to the, I guess, the main card itself. Let's taking a look at first Sting and Darby Allin versus the pairing that we actually have already seen together this year, Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett.
A lot of people are crapping on this match, but I'm okay with it. I think, and people still pissed off, oh, they signed Jeff Jarrett. I think he has a ton that he can bring, not only as a heel, but as a wrestler, and of course behind the scenes as well. I think them signing Jeff Jarrett's been a great thing, and I'm really looking forward to this match. I mean, think about it. Sting and Jeff Jarrett, they did have a rivalry there for a little bit there in WCW. I mean, they're probably, I would dare say, the only two guys that wrestled in WCW in that era that can still go relatively well. So this should be very interesting. See Sting get his stuff in. I think ultimately, though, I gotta go with the baby faces on this one. I think it's gonna be Sting and Darby Allin.
Yeah, I think I would definitely agree. I'm going to go Sting and Darby Allin on this one as well. But I do think the same thing along with you. Jeff Jarrett's good at getting heat, and I mean, for whatever reason, that's something that can be hard to find nowadays. So I mean,
look what he did at the Ric Flair's last match. I mean, he was incredible that night.
Yeah. I mean, he really was. I mean, all three of the Andrade and Jay and Jeff, like they did a phenomenal job in that, and literally just keeping Ric Flair alive. But it is what it is.
Tell me about it. Yeah.
I'm just gonna do a little sidebar. I loved the vignette from Dynamite this past week. That
with
really,
Sting?
With Sting and Darby.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty dope.
Yeah,
you know what it reminded me of? It gave to me like one of my favorite movies of all time. It gave a lot of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas vibes, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, so we're both going the same on this one. Yeah. And then next up, this one could take a little bit for us to talk about because honestly, at the beginning of today is Friday. Pulling the curtain back, today is Friday. When I woke up this morning, I was almost positive Saraya was going to win this match. But then I listened to Busted Open. And I listened to my good friend Bully Ray. And he played the story out of what he thinks should happen. Now, this is what thinks should happen. And, honestly, I want Saraya to win. But I think what you can do here, and I think I am going to side with this, is what you do is you have them if she can really go, have them have a great match, like just a great match. And I do expect this to be a pretty good match. But what you do is it's, for whatever reason, it's just not her night. Britt Baker still goes over. Okay. It picks up the win here. And then you have Saraya, just like maybe sitting on like the apron, just, crying. And I'm describing it almost just like, he was. And then you almost have like a Brit extending the hand moment, all right, like to help her up or whatever, and then maybe even they grab the mic, but then as Saraya turns around, Britt just whacks her in the back of the head. Instant heat.
That's a pretty good scenario.
So, I mean, honestly, Bully Ray probably explained it a lot better than what I just did. But honestly,
well, you did pretty good because you've almost like made me change my pick.
yeah.
I don't know. Like that makes a lot of sense. Like if you're talking like with long-term storytelling too, you're putting over the biggest star in the company, the biggest woman star. I mean, shit. Well, let's call a spade a spade. Not even that. Like in my opinion, honestly, Britt Baker is one of the 4 pillars. Take that piece of garbage Sammy Guevara out and put Britt Baker in there. That's right, I said it. We're talking more about that little infestation here in a minute, but you can tell I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah, he's
but I feel like Britt Baker is one of the 4 pillars. I don't care what anybody says, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. This is as great of a career as Britt has had. This is like mega huge for her.
Is.
I mean,
honestly,
I say this is probably her biggest match for career.
Yeah, and I think she's even going on record saying that.
Yeah,
and like, I mean, I'm gonna give credit where credit is due to Busted Open. They did such a good job, like the past 2 days since Dynamite, of breaking this match down in particular. Honestly, this is one. In my opinion, this is almost the biggest match on the card. Obviously, you have your world title, but I almost think,
I wouldn't go as far as say that, but I would say it's probably the second biggest. Yeah. Let's put it this way: there's a there, and let me say this too: there's some great women's matches on this card, and we're going to talk about a couple of them.
Yeah.
But this is by far the biggest women's match. This definitely, and you see this throughout the history of professional wrestling. Sometimes there are singles matches that just are more about just the matchup itself, the dream matchup scenario itself, than a title. And this is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this along. This is the match I'm most looking forward to, even more than the main event. Just because I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I want to say this and go on record saying this. First and foremost, I hope that Saraya has a great match and is safe. That's the most important thing in my eyes.
Yes.
Because, I mean, her career, what she's done, like, I mean, you really can't put it into words. Like, she really is, like, the pioneer of, like, this whole woman's revolution that's happened in wrestling over the past 10 years. She was the first one, really. You say what you will, but, I mean, she's right up there. Her and AJ Lee, man. But, I'm still going to stick to my guns and go with the storybook ending of Saraya going over, but I honestly like your booking of it better. I think it would make more sense and because too, it gives Saraya doesn't have to win this match.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Britt Baker has to win this. It's more important for her legacy she wins this match than Saraya.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I don't want to say, and this may come off as controversial, but I'm going to go ahead and say it because I'm being honest, and I do still love the company. But in what you've seen in the past, AEW kind of has fumbled a couple bookings. I'm talking about the Acclaimed in Chicago and All Out. So they corrected that. Still, I feel like they probably will mess this one up. And I mean that with all due respect.
With all due respect. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm so excited. The one thing this match should not be a squash either way. That does not help either of them. So
I agree.
This has to be a good match, and it has to be given time. So
you're taking Britt Baker.
I am.
Nice.
I'm not betting against the doctor. I've done that before, and I was proven wrong.
There you go.
Yeah, I kind of figured this would probably be one of the ones we would probably talk about the most, and it would take us a little bit because there's a lot here. They've been giving a lot of promo time. This is definitely probably the most interesting story.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
Yeah, I would. I mean, there's a couple of good storylines on this show, but yeah, this one, I do want to say this. I do feel like it's felt kind of weird to me, the build up for this one, because I just don't feel like. I mean, the crowd reaction she got when she came out at Grand Slam was phenomenal, but I feel like ever since then the crowd has accepted her as much, and I think part of that is because they love Britt Baker so much because she's so over with the crowd. I mean, look at Britt Baker and like. Here's the thing. I think this is really why the reason people love Britt Baker. Even though, yes, she's a doctor and all this stuff, she's a tough, badass, man. Think about it. I mean, think of some of the imagery of, it's one of the most iconic in AEW with Britt Baker with the broken nose, blood coming down, It's, dare I say, it's almost among the lines of like Becky Lynch in WWE when she got her nose broken from Nia Jax on that Monday Night Raw. So,
yeah, I mean, like we said, we consider her to be a pillar. So
yeah, I think that's part of the issue, and I do feel like at times, I think Saraya has kind of went for some low hanging fruit with some of the comments she's made, like about WWE and stuff like that. But I mean, it is what it is. But hey, we're here. We're getting to see her return in the ring, and at the end of the day, that's the most exciting, important thing. So I'm all in on this match.
Exactly. All right, now we are getting into some. This feud is definitely
talk about some bad blood.
Definitely personal. Definitely some bad blood. Getting Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and Luchasaurus in a steel cage.
And what I love about this is like, this is how you do a steel cage match, because what you've seen in the past, 15, 20 years in pro wrestling, it's always like, okay, we're going to put them in a cage to keep so-and-so out, or we're going to just do it because it's just the spectacle of it. Back in the day, cage matches were truly meant to settle feuds, settle rivalries, and I think that's what we're getting here. Yeah. And continuing on with that rivalry, we're going to get Jungle Boy against Christian when Christian heals up. But I've enjoyed the matches he's had with Luchasaurus so far.
Yeah, and I think what this will do is this will finally put this feud to rest for a little bit. And then I could totally see down the road. Obviously, I'm picking Jungle Boy to pick up the win here. And who's to say maybe down the road, maybe he finds his way to like a TNT title or an All Atlantic title. And then
I agree. I think Jungle Boy does go over in this one. And I like the way you're thinking. I think what happens there, though, is he does the chase, but I don't think he wins the title. I think Christian ultimately costs it and continues on this feud. Not 100% sure how much longer Christian's going to be out for. Probably still for, I would say, a significant amount of time. I'd say maybe another, 6 months or more. Who knows? But I think they've done a good job putting this match in place. And I also think this is going to be a bloodbath too. I think Jungle Boy, his pretty little face is going to be bleeding buckets.
Yeah,
but I think this is going to be this is a match that potentially could steal the show. Honestly,
yeah.
Both are super talented wrestlers. Both are very familiar with working with each other. So yeah, that's going to be good.
And plus, one's a dinosaur, so there you go.
Yeah, and when you put a dinosaur in the cage, we all know what happens.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Do you think Christian gets involved some way, somehow, tries to, what do you think?
I think he does, but I still think at the end of the day, Jungle Boy is going to get the win. Unless they're planning on continuing on this rivalry, which is very realistic. But I think I would let Jungle Boy get his win here, and like you're saying, kind of give him like a good mid-card push to where he's getting like a TNT title shot and stuff, but he just doesn't quite win the belt.
Yeah. All right, and looking up next, now this is one of the more interesting feuds that we have had in recent time, because Nyla Rhodes literally got into this match just by stealing the TBS championship. And now, she definitely deserves a match like this as well, and definitely is good enough to be in the TBS title picture. But I do. It's kind of been fun. It's been different, and it's been fun. Them building up to this one, and it's a good mix up because Jade's just been so dominant, and
I think out of all of Jade's challengers, I feel like this matchup here to me is the most realistic. And I mean this from like a look and like from their style standpoint, to where Jade could lose. She's not going to, but like if anybody was to pull it off, I mean Nyla has got the capabilities, the power, the skill to do it.
Yeah.
That's what I like about this match. And I hate how people are kind of crapping on this match. It's like, come on, man, this is going to be a good match. I mean, shoot, if you like big, meaty men slapping big, meaty men, then why wouldn't you like big, meaty woman slapping big, meaty woman? You know? Try saying that 3 times too fast.
Yeah, I mean, this should definitely be interesting. I do think. I mean, you got the baddies on one side, and you probably got Vicky Guerrero and Marina Shafir on the other. So,
and as long as Maria Shafir doesn't get on the mic, now if she does get on the mic, that may cost Jade the match. I'm just saying. Ouch. But no, Jade's going to go over. Jade's going to get retained.
Yes, and those words echo in my mouth that you said at the beginning of this year. I think she's still going to be TBS champion by the end of the year. And
I don't know who. I really don't know who would beat her. I feel like it's going to get to a scenario where she just vacates the title and goes after the woman's title. That's what I think will happen with Jade.
Exactly.
I think
they have
Jade,
to be so careful when they do that.
Yeah, I feel like Jade has been, outside of Brett, probably the most well booked female wrestler in AEW.
All right, so we're both picking Jade on this one.
Yeah.
All right, now we go from the TBS title to the TNT title. Now, I will say I was a little disappointed that this is not like necessarily a winner take all, since you do have Samoa Joe in this, and that made it a 3-way. But talk about big meaty men slapping meat. This match. Now, you picked the cage match for Show Stealer. This is probably my Show Stealer match.
It's a good one.
It's definitely going to be a good one. I mean, all these guys are just they're so good.
And I would honestly be okay with any 3 of them winning this match. I have no qualms or issues with any of them going over in this match.
Yeah, I mean, I would think. I don't necessarily want Samoa Joe to win it, just because he already has the ROH title. But I don't. Yeah, I mean,
Powerhouse would be pretty cool. He's a guy that's definitely overdue.
I mean, all are very well deserving. I don't know. Maybe it would be kind of cool to see, Joe walking around with the 2 titles and just being that ultra, like, bad A heel. Like,
yeah. I feel like at the end of the day, AEW's already invested so much time and to push him Wardlow. He's so over with the crowd. I don't see Wardlow losing that belt anytime soon. I think Wardlow retains.
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, this should be a great match for Warlord to have to fight from behind a little bit, just because the odds are stacked against him.
Well, I wonder this. I'm looking at the tail of the tape. This is going to sound crazy, but weight-wise, I think Wardlow is the smallest guy in this match.
Probably.
Which that's crazy. I will say this, and I mentioned this about the Jade Nyla match. I feel the same way with this one. I think this is going to be Wardlow's toughest task to date. I think the challengers he's had, And I once again, I don't mean to be disrespectful at all, but I do feel like it's kind of been mediocre at best. But this is the one match where I could be like, you know what, it could happen here. It's not going to, but it could. But I'm going with Wardlow.
Yeah, I'm going with Wardlow as well. You know, I think what they could do, I don't know if they will, but they could, set up in this match for kind of like a feud between Hobbs and Samoa Joe, and then at ROH Battleground, they go
Final
after
battle.
Or Final Battle, whatever it's called. Yeah. I don't know.
I feel like at Final Battle, I think you're going to get out of these. I think you're going to get Wardlow against Joe, because I feel like it's going to be like a return of the favor. Like, okay, I defended and gave you a shot at my TNT title. Now it's time for you to give me a shot at your TV title. I feel like that's the purpose of this not being a winner take all match.
Yeah.
So
something like that in some way, shape, or form. And ultimately we don't know what they're doing with ROH yet, whether there's going to be television coming soon. We think there is, but yeah, the pay-per-views have been great. We just don't know how they are going to keep dividing the talent. At some point I would think there would be some more solidity there, or people can just keep showing up wherever. I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
Now, looking at this one. Yeah, I see you. He may not be feeling well, but he still has to.
I can still scissor with the best of them.
He still has to scissor with his best, bro. Okay, and before we go any further, the shirts they're coming out for the Acclaimed. Oh my goodness. Okay, I sent you the Christmas one, but
the Christmas one's epic.
Yes, but listen, they have one for Billy Gunn now that says Daddy A's Office Supplies.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like a storefront. And so that's what they were saying. That's what they said on the DX reunion, that the other one was working with office supplies now. So yeah, it was awesome. I don't know that we really need to take a whole lot of time to go into this one. Obviously,
everybody loves the Acclaimed.
Everyone loves the Acclaimed.
It would be the worst decision. This, to me, is the most surefire bet. It's the Acclaimed. And if they somehow had them dropping back to Swerve in Our Glory, I question everything. I feel like at this point, I love both Swerve and Keith Lee, great competitors, but I'm done with the team. I want this to be the end of it. I want to see Keith Lee just go back to being the badass monster babyface, and Swerve can go be like the little piece of garbage heel,
Yeah. Ultimately, I think Swerve and Keith Lee end up feuding after this. I think this.
I agree. That's kind of what I think. This is the end of Swerve in Our Glory. But I will say this: pleasantly surprised by the run they had. They've done a tremendous job as a tag team. But yeah, this is the Acclaimed all day, every day.
Yes, and I cannot wait to get me some of the Acclaimed foam fingers. That's all I gotta say about that.
Yes, incredible.
We need to make that happen.
Yeah, we do.
All righty.
Can I just say this? I'm and once again, I trying to be positive, trying to be not complain, but to me, this is the least interesting match on this card. I would have been more compelled from a storyline standpoint if it was just Bryan Danielson, Chris Jericho, and Claudio. And yes, I know, I hate that utter piece of human feces, Sammy Guevara. I mean, just look at him. Good God, doesn't he just make your skin crawl just looking at him with the stupid tongue sticking out? And it was, ugh. Oh my God! And you know what though? Here's the thing. I mean, is Sammy great as a heel? He is, but I don't know. I'm not going to go on too much of a rant on this. That's another video for another time. I've never really been a huge Sammy fan, but here lately, I really can't. I kind of despise the guy. I mean, just probably going to see like a million stupid, idiotic false finishes because that's kind of his gimmick. But it is what it is. I guess I'm sounding like Jim Cornette now. Thank you, fuck you, bye. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would have been more compelling as a three-way. I do feel like with Sammy being in there, it adds to the story as like, okay, is he gonna be Jericho's backup, or is he gonna be like a selfish little prick like he is and trying to get the win? I don't know. I just felt like it would have been more interesting to see like the other three and like Claudio and Brian kind of go against each other.
Yeah.
That being said, I ultimately feel like Jericho's going to retain. I feel like Jericho is going to go into a match at Final Battle. And I feel like it's going to be against Danielson, and there's going to be some big stipulation on it, and Danielson finally wins the title there.
Yeah.
But I feel like Jericho retains here.
Man, I mean, until I was listening to you, I was all ready to pick Brian Danielson. I really was. Because I really wanted to win. But here's what I do think. Almost beyond all certainty, between this match and the main event, I think what we're going to see is one, both the Blackpool Combat Club and a little bit of a Civil War, and the Jericho Appreciation Society and a little bit of their own Civil War as well.
I feel like Blackpool Combat Club's kind of already there with Will or Yuta just kind of having an attitude here lately.
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I'll explain more of that. Well, I guess I should explain what I feel like with this match. I mean, ultimately, you're going for the same title. Claudio recently held this title. Danielson's held this title, a long, long time ago. But yeah, I think this is going to lead to, some civil war in some factions.
I feel like Danielson has to be the one to dethrone Jericho because he would be the savior of Ring of Honor, so to speak.
500%, 500% agree.
Yeah.
And I do like what you said about him doing it at Final Battle. And I feel like ultimately it will be like the title versus career. If
I was getting
Danielson
ready to
doesn't,
say that. I feel like he'll put his career on the line at Final Battle, and that's what we get.
Yep.
Yep. Totally agree. So that being said, are you saying Jericho retains, or are you saying Danielson wins?
I'm saying Jericho retains.
Okay. Oh, this one.
Yes. Moving on to the World Trios title. Yes, in DDO, we found out on Dynamite that the Elite will be coming back.
It's the Elite.
It's the Elite. I am happy to see them back.
This is going to be definitely a spot fest.
Yeah.
Maybe not as many spots as Sammy Guevara puts on, but close to it. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. That's the last dig of Sammy Guevara tonight, other than he's a piece of human waste. But
yeah,
anyway.
This one's going to be so interesting because do you just go ahead and put the titles right back on the Elite and just act like All Out and everything after it never happened? Or
I feel like the answer to that question is yes. That sounds silly. I think long-term storytelling, it would be cool to see Death Triangle retain because the fact of the matter. Here's the thing. What's the thing they've been doing with Death Triangle and teasing over these past couple of weeks? Like Pac breaking down and cheating to win, but Ray and Penta not coming over and succumbing to the dark side, so to speak. I could see this match going to where that he finally gets them to do that, then they cheat to win and retain their belts. That would actually make more sense to me.
That's exactly what I'm kind of thinking now as well. And it also it makes you feel for the Elite. Like if say it's a beatdown so much that they're like bleeding and like like blood over the face, and like I mean they're just like, because especially like with Pac, he's been using the
Hammer.
the hammer. Like I think I'm gonna pick Death Triangle.
Honestly, I was kind of 50-50. I was leaning towards more the Elite, but I'm going to kind of listen to my heart, and I think cooler storytelling. I'm going to pick Death Triangle too. But I'm not going to be shocked in the least bit if the Elite win the belts back.
Yes, I wouldn't be either. But ultimately, I do hope this is kind of like a wash your hands clean moment. I put out like a silly TikTok earlier of like I circled the media scrum that they have promoting on their YouTube, and I said, "Is this a good idea?"
Yeah, and they're still doing that, and I'm kind of like, oh boy.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? And I'll say this once and just be done with it. I think the big toxicity of that is no longer there anymore. I mean, it was definitely two sides to that story, but I think the biggest element of that is gone, and now it's just we move on. So there you go.
Yeah. So ultimately, we're both saying on this one that we feel
I'm
like
missing Death Triangle.
we're saying Death Triangle. We feel like they are going to embrace more of the dark side and cheat to win, and it makes them into more of a heel group and the Elite into bigger baby faces now.
Yeah.
My, how things change in a year, right?
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I really thought I was picking the Elite, and then
I did too. I
yeah.
think I'd written down like the Elite, but after talking it out, it's like, no, I think it's gonna be Death Triangle.
Yeah. All right. Now we go into your AEW interim women's world championship. Yes, because we are both big Thunder Rosa Marks, and she is still your
Our champion.
AEW champion, and we're not going to go into that. Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter. I do like the storytelling in this, how they set it up to where we used to be roommates during the pandemic and yada, yada, yada.
Also
And
used to work in Shimmer for a couple of years too, as well in Japan. So or Stardom, worked in Stardom. So yeah, it's the story kind of tells itself with them, their background and stuff. And just exciting to finally see Jamie Hayter get a one-on-one championship match. Very well deserved. I think the crowd is going to be uber over for Jamie Hayter. Matter of fact, I think Toni Storm's actually going to get booed in this one.
I could see it. I mean, we were at All Out, and they were definitely all over Jamie Hayter in that one. They weren't necessarily against Toni Storm, but they were definitely a
They're all for
large
Jamie.
percentage of the crowd was ready for Jamie Hayter. Ultimately, I do think Toni Storm will end up retaining here, but Jamie Hayter's time will come,
I
definitely.
feel like too, what's going to happen here is somehow Brett's going to get involved, and like it's going to be to where the fact where somehow like she accidentally cost her again or something like that, and it could be too. Excuse me. It could be a scenario where if Britt wins earlier in the night against Saraya, it's like her big shining moment. And then you have Jamie, who's potentially going to win the women's world championship, and Britt Baker kind of cost her that match because she wants all the spotlight. That's a possibility too. I think you get another chapter in their story here, but I'm like you. I feel like it's Toni Storm's probably going to retain.
Mm-hmm. All right, sir. Are you ready to go into what will be the main event of the evening?
Yeah, buddy.
You have your AEW World Champion, John Moxley, going against the devil himself, MJF.
I have to say, like, this one's been
Confusing?
I don't know. I've never. It's been unique storytelling because I mean, it's still MJF is just that piece of garbage like heel, But the crowd, he's so over with the crowd and accepted by the crowd. And I mean, he's so good at what he does. I've noticed with him too. I don't know if you've seen this or picked up on this. Have you seen some of the press stuff he's been doing for this match? Like where he's talking to different like podcasts and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's like he's still that cocky, arrogant MJF, but he's not the like hateful. He's not hateful about it. You know, it's not his usual self, his usual demeanor. So I feel like it's just in my head. It's like, okay, is he going babyface? Is he already babyface? I mean, I guess he's kind of. I feel like with MJF, the reason everybody loves him is because he doesn't sugarcoat things. He tells it like it is. And his story arc's been very interesting. I mean, yes, he's come from like the rich background and being spoiled as a child and whatnot, you know. Excuse me. But I feel like with him, he kind of has been overshadowed here on some big moments.
And that's what
he said it like in that one promo or that interview he did, you know, talking about when he went up against Cody and what happened there, and then like how, you know, this was his big return at All Out, and it was overshadowed by the whole fiasco with the backstage incident at the Scrum. So I mean, it's just like, you know, time after time he's had it like just taken away from him. So
yeah.
And also, did you see the footage after Dynamite this week where MJF's cutting a promo and he's like putting over Tony Khan and stuff? It's just so weird to me. Is this all part of the psychology to coerce and think John Moxley isn't like, you know, or is he really going babyface?
Yeah.
There's a lot of different scenarios out there too on how this goes down.
Yeah. I mean, it's so crazy. And I mean, when Kenny, you know, so he left as a heel, but obviously when he came back, he was a face just because everyone was so happy to have, you know, Kenny Omega back.
Yeah.
Similar situation. You know, MJF was gone for a while, and then everyone was just so happy that he was back. And by hook or by crook, let's be honest, this story has been a little hodgepodge because ultimately, I think the story was supposed to be CM Punk versus MJF.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I would almost rather see this. Even though I do think the dog collar match between MJF and Punk was probably like maybe match of the year, up there at least. But yeah, I mean,
there's several outcomes this could go.
Yeah.
The obvious one is like, oh, it was all a ploy, and the firm is still on MJF's side. That's the obvious.
That could happen.
The one that's being thrown around a lot now, and I know you're familiar with this too, is they're talking like Regal turns on Moxley and joins up with MJF. It could happen.
That's almost what I think will happen. That kind of goes into my Civil War theory. But I don't know.
Honestly, what I would want to see in this one, I just want to see it be his crowning moment, and he wins the title straight up. No BS, straight up clean victory. And like he ends up kind of going into like it'd be a different kind of like persona, but kind of like almost to the equivalent of back in the day in the Attitude Era, where Stone Cold was like the anti-established, the anti-hero, and MJF kind of goes in that role as the anti-hero of AEW.
Yeah,
which is just so crazy to say because he's such a damn good heel. But the thing is, like, the fans love him so much, and I think it's like one of those things where it's kind of like your hands forced, you know.
I mean, I think ultimately, MJF needs to win this here. Am I going to be mad if Moxley retains? Not necessarily, but it's going to depend on how it was done. Like, if it's because I could see it in the case of, does the firm cost MJF? I could see that.
I think that'd be like a low-hanging fruit. We mentioned that earlier. Like, that'd be just too easy for that to happen. I think being in Jersey, being in his home kind of state, so to speak. I mean, it's, we saw it last year. Great storytelling. Hangman Page finally climbing the top of the mountain and winning that world title. I think you get another great story of another great AEW original talent finally getting what they deserve and to be the world champion. MJF's going over in this.
Yeah.
I have no doubt about it in my mind. I just don't know how he gets there.
Yeah. And that, I mean, ultimately, that's honestly what makes this so exciting, and that's why we love pro wrestling.
Yeah, stuff like this in scenarios like this, it makes it interesting. I've said this before. I've been a fan for over 30 years, and it's like I've seen just about everything. But for them to kind of throw in something like this to where, like, I really don't know what exactly is going to happen. If they can make it that interesting, like, they're doing their job. So,
yeah, I mean, this pay-per-view is really built. Honestly, the matches are built pretty nice. Even like Tony was saying, I think on Busted Open today, there is a lot of it's kind of like there is a lot of the originals that have made their name in AEW versus kind of people that have just made their name elsewhere. And it makes it interesting for sure. Obviously, our boy Hangman's probably not booked on this show.
still recovering.
Still recovering. Well. I just saw him in the image there, and I'm like, Hangman.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I think it'll be a good show, though. I mean, it's going to be I think it'll be a tremendous moment when MJF wins. I say, the biggest intrigue to me on that is, like, how does he win? I could even see something like this. Let me paint this picture for you. Let's say, and it's going to be kind of similar to last year. Let's say MJF has the ring, right? And he's looking at Mox, he's looking at the ring, he's looking at Mox, he's looking at the Dynamite ring, and William Regal gives him a look, just like, don't do it, you're going to discredit yourself. And then, like, he takes the ring off and ends up losing the match. How crazy would that be? It could happen.
Yeah, it could.
I still feel like MJF's going to go over, but, like, that would be just nuts if they, like,
yeah. You're talking about how, like, Hangman thought about using the belt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was actually talking about, well, that's a good point, though. I was actually talking about last year when the Bucks came out and kind of looked at Hangman, and it was just kind of like when he was doing the buck shot, they kind of gave him the nod of approval, and, like, it's kind of a similar thing, only in reverse, where he's just like, no, don't do it, and he gives them the nod of approval at the end. Like, what if that's the story here? The story is MJF finally becomes a man, like, by doing the right thing. But that could also play with him psychologically as, like, I've tried to do good, I had my shot, and I failed. Now I'm going to go back to my cheating ways or something. Like, there's so many different ways this could go. And once again, we've talked about before, that's the great thing about pro wrestling.
Crap, you almost had me want to change my pick now.
I know, right? Like, it could happen, but I'm listening to my heart on this. It's got to be MJF.
Yeah. I don't think we did a very good job of differing in picks very much.
No.
But that's okay. Because did I talk you into the Britt Baker one?
No, I ended up going with Saraya, but I think you're going to be right.
So that's I think that's the only one we differed on.
Yeah.
So
both pop themselves into Death Triangle somehow. Yeah.
So not really a lot at stake for bragging rights on this one, but it should be a great show.
It's gonna be a fun show, though.
And if anything, we hope that it was just fun for you all to listen to our thoughts. And
what I hope at the end of the night, most important thing, is everybody stays safe and healthy, no injuries out of this, and they have a successful scrum, and, like, assuming MJF gets his moment and MJF kind of finally having that moment and being like, okay, now I'm the face of this company. Let's go. I'm putting it on my back. And I feel like right now AEW desperately needs that feel good moment because I still feel like even though it's months that it happened to go, there's still a bad taste in everybody's mouth from All Out. And I'm one of those people, honestly. So I hope this is the show that finally says, okay, All Out's done and over with. We're moving on. This is a new era of AEW. And led by MJF. Maxwell Jacob Friedman, because he's better than you.
And you know it. And he is a generational talent.
This is true.
All right. Well, that is about going to do it. Oh, well, hold on. I do have just one last question. Do you think we get any sort of debuts?
I don't know who would they sign or bring in.
Is Sasha Banks showing up?
Oh, Jesus, you're never going to let that go. No, Sasha Banks is not showing up. Sasha Banks will be back. If she comes back to wrestling, you will see her at WWE. But no, if anybody, I could see Adam Cole returning, assuming he's healthy.
Yeah.
And I hope he is healthy because I'd love to see him again.
Yeah.
That would be about the only big real surprise. I can't see them I don't know who else there would be for them to sign or bring in.
Yeah.
I guess if I'm being really uber fantasy booking, and it probably won't happen, but how cool. Let's go back to that Death Triangle Elite matchup. How cool would it be if Will Ospreay came out and cost Kenny the match, setting up a match between them at Wrestle Kingdom?
Ooh. Who knows?
This
is professional wrestling, and anything is possible. So that is about gonna wrap it up for us. We hope you all
appreciate
enjoyed.
you putting up with my sick butt and carrying me through, my pal. You're my
we kind
of my tag team partner to the end.
Yep, we kind of switched roles a little bit there, but that is okay. That's what friends do for each other. I know one thing for sure. We're definitely excited for Full Gear. Don't know if we'll necessarily be watching it together for a reaction show because I don't necessarily want your germs. We're just going to have to see how you're feeling, good buddy.
That's right. Now I will drink plenty of fluids and get plenty of rest. R&R.
All right. So that is going to do it for this prediction show. We will catch you all later. And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Do it.
Later.